All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hot Route Takes. This is the NFL Week 11 preview show. Last week before Thanksgiving football, a lot of good games on tap. As always, guys, we will start with the two primetime games we missed since last talking to you all. It was both an AFC West matchup in each time the AFC West team prevailed. Bit of a shocker in the Monday night one, but we'll start with Sunday. It was Vegas taking the game over the Jets, 16-12 final. I'll let each guy, Brian and Christian here, touch on each team from their division and what went down for the West team to prevail. Christian, Raiders came out on top. What happened Sunday night?
I think the Raiders kind of went back to what we thought this team was going to be at the beginning of the year. I mean, Josh Jacobs is getting 27 carries. I mean, I don't think anyone's seen this coming until, finally a new coach got in there. And then, the coach is even saying, hey, we have Devontae Adams. So, what have we been doing all year? So, they're giving him the ball now. He had six touches, 86 yards. So, I think the Raiders moving forward, if this is what they're doing, I'm not going to say they're going to make noise, but I think this is what they should have been doing this whole time. And their defense, I'm not going to lie, is kind of impressing me week to week and getting better each week. So I just think the Raiders are not going to be one of those teams that's going to be making noise, but it's a team that every week that you play this team, I think you need to play them to their fullest. I think they can very quickly surprise you and be on the other side and be winning games that people be like, well, they shouldn't have won this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, they brought in Josh McDaniels, the Raiders did. And the whole thing about the Patriot way and all that is winning in the margins and playing good situational football. And oddly enough, after they fire McDaniels, they bring in an interim head coach and they start playing good situational football. I can't really explain that, but that's what this game was. They just played relatively clean altogether. And, Zach Wilson continuing to struggle a little bit, although I do think he found some life here and there in this game and showed some sparks. I know he had like a crazy no-look pass where he evaded the pocket and hit guy on the run. It was a pretty throw, but just more consistency needed. And he was also the leading rusher by a significant amount. So credit to the Raiders defense and specifically to Splain, their middle linebacker, on the pick. That was an excellent play by him, just playing a good game.
Yep. That one mildly shocking. Two teams I don't know how much we believe in, especially with the quarterbacks they're throwing out there each week. The next one was the big upset, the Monday Night Football game. The Bills falling at home to the Denver Broncos, now dropping to 5-5, same record as those Vegas Raiders who won Sunday night. So a 24-22 loss. The game-winning field goal was actually missed before the Bills were called for 12 men on the field. Broncos get another attempt, hit it, win the game. Following day, Bills offensive coordinator is fired. So some whole in-house changes for Buffalo after a tough loss, hopefully to spark Josh Allen and this offense to turn things around the second half of the football season. Christian, Denver now sitting at 4-5. We talked a little bit about them on the pod, but is it a team that's any bit dangerous? Because Russell Wilson's not playing terrible football, and they pulled out a win that no one expected.
Yeah, my big thing is just, the turnovers. I think if their defense can keep making them, but how much is that really their defense is what my big takeaway from this game. I think Brian will hit on that more than I will, but I just will say that just a little short. But I think Javonte Williams, if they do keep winning games, they're going to have to do what they did in this game. That's 21 carries. Yes, it's not that many yards. It was only 79, but just keeping that clock moving and running. And that's how they're going to beat a lot of these teams. I will say Courtland Sutton, out of everybody I will say on this team, is the last guy I expected to really be doing much, but he is their little bright spot. He's making big plays when they need him, and I think him and Russell Wilson are actually building something. So I think moving forward, if they can keep building upon this, and if Russell Wilson, I will say, keep moving in the pocket like he is, like we've seen in the past, if he keeps that moving forward in his game, I think this Denver team, honestly, it maybe could have just been a slow start. I wouldn't really want to say that about this team because it's a team that we've seen not look good at all this year, but if they can start putting some of these pieces together and Sean Payton actually get this team to what he wants it to be, this could be, like I just said about the last team I talked about in the Raiders, this could be another team that, like Buffalo, if you don't come in bringing your A game, they can sneak out a win, and that's what they did, Monday night.
Okay. I think this kind of showed some cracks in the foundation of the Buffalo Bills roster and their team, coaching, the whole gig. And I'm going to touch on that later in my NFL take. But I did want to mention Russell Wilson just because I thought he played a really good game. I thought he was the box score doesn't tell you a whole lot. 24, 29, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, but the dude was making plays, and their offense is basically Russell Wilson drop back, see if you like something. If not, start running around, make something happen. And it's working right now because Javonte Williams is getting things going in the run game. It's not much like Christian hinted on, but they're staying on schedule, and that's the biggest thing. And they're not getting in 3rd and 10 situations and 3rd and long where Russell Wilson ends up getting sacked in a lot of the situations. But I think Denver improved their defense, found their running game, and have definitely found themselves. Are they that good? No, I do not. But I do think they're a much better team than the Raiders, and I do think they can honestly make a push. I don't think they make the playoffs, but they have a talented enough roster and a good enough head coach that they can go on a run. So that's what I want to say about Denver. Buffalo just unfortunately shot themselves in the foot one too many times in this game, and they're the better team. They should have won. But critical error at the end of the game, 12 men on the field, causing Denver to get another shot at the field goal to win the game. I think that explains the whole night pretty much right there.
Like you said, we will get into them later in the pod. A lot to talk about on their side of the ball. Moving on, guys, we'll get right into the Week 11 picks. Just a quick recap. We have a new leader in the clubhouse for the game pick'em standings. Yours truly. I am 88 and 62 now, a game up on Brian, who's 87 and 63. Christian just 2 back of Brian, 85 and 65. So we've been right there at each other all year. I'm sure we'll differ on a few of these picks. So let's see if anyone can overtake me now, the leading guy in the clubhouse. Sure to be differing on this first game, obviously. The Thursday night matchup, a lot better than what we got last week, guys. We got an AFC North matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to M&T Bank Stadium to take on my Baltimore Ravens. Both teams coming off pretty bad losses on field goals late in the game. Baltimore blowing that lead. I talked extensively about that game and what went down with the Browns and where we go from here. I'm really split. The only time I picked against the Ravens this year was week 2 in Cincinnati, and we won that game. Right now, I'm so 50-50, but with Ronnie Stanley out, Marlon Humphrey is doubtful. But on the flip side, T. Higgins is listed as out. So I truly don't know where to go. I think Cincinnati desperately needs to win. I think they need it more than us. But just picking against Baltimore at home in primetime is tough for me to do because we generally play so well home football in primetime games. So I'm going to pick Baltimore, and obviously I'll be pulling for them, but I would not be the least bit shocked to see Joe Burrow put together a A-plus type effort and take this game from us.
I went with Cincinnati. I just think that they are in a different phase of their season. They have kind of found themselves again, and they did this last year. They started 5-4, I believe, and went on a run and almost won every game for the rest of the season. So I've been a believer. But they did kind of have a slow start this year, although I think they found themselves. I do think it's going to be a close matchup, and I think this could be a real shootout here. I think it has potential to be a shootout.
Yeah, for this one, I did go back and forth, but I guess in a nice way, I still have a bitter taste of the Browns' win in my mouth for Baltimore and just how it's supposed to be an offensive team. And when it came down to when they just really needed one good drive that game to maybe really put the icing on the cake and just couldn't come up with it. And I just think the Cincinnati team, kind of like Brian said, I think they know who they are. It's just kind of hadn't got over that hump yet. And I just think it's these teams we will all agree know each other very well. This game, I think Cincinnati knows at this point they have to win. Like, this is a must win. I think Jamar Chase, I think there was a bigger issue with his back than probably led off. I think another week of him resting that back. And then I just think Joe Burrow, just who he is as a person and a player, knows what this game is riding on. So I just would like to see, not really like to see, I just picture that Cincinnati's going to win this game just with how much more they have riding on it than a Baltimore Ravens team does.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with any of what you guys said there. And had we not dropped the game last week, I think I'd 100% be on Cincinnati. But usually we're good bouncing back from a loss, and we're good at home in prime time. So that's kind of what I'm writing on here. Hopeful that we pull it out tomorrow night. I will be watching intently. Moving on to Sunday football games. The first matchup is the other two AFC North teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland, who, if you haven't heard the news yet, will be without Deshaun Watson for the remainder of the season. Season-ending surgery today. He gutted through that Baltimore game, and it was obvious he was hurting. Now we know the extent of that injury. Unfortunate to see Cleveland without him the rest of the year. I think they're a really good football team with him. They still have a really good defense, so they can still win this game. But it's going to be hard for me to pick them on a weekly basis, knowing who's going to be rolling out at QB every week. So for that reason, I think TJ Watt and company make a few plays and Pittsburgh wins this game.
Yeah, I went with Pittsburgh as well, and I've been picking against Pittsburgh pretty consistently here. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson is scheduled to start in this game. I'm just not sure. This isn't the defense to come in and start your first game against. So
he did start against us. He started
against
or he
us.
Came in? No, he started.
Okay.
Deshaun was a late scratch kind of that week. That was where the injuries began, and he looked. I mean, I've harped our defense pretty well, but he looked very bad.
So this is the first week he's been the starter from the beginning of prep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So it is a little different, especially when the defense kind of knows that you're coming in. But I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think this could be like a 9-6 kind of game, honestly.
Yeah, I would not be shocked.
I went with Cleveland still. I just think their defense, y'all are saying Pittsburgh, but I also look at the other side of the ball and seeing what I've seen out of Kenny Pickett all year, and I'm just not impressed with what I'm seeing out of Kenny Pickett. So I think this game's like what y'all really think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, but I just believe – I mean, I've talked a lot about Pittsburgh's running backs, and I believe a lot more in the Cleveland backs than I do in Pittsburgh backs right now. And the offensive line for Cleveland's better. So I just think when you look at the trenches and then you go onto the defense side of the ball, I lean more Cleveland. I really do. I think that's the better team when it goes down to that stuff. And just if somebody's going to win this game, I think it's going to come down to the defense. And I've been beating the drum all year. I think Cleveland is the best defense in the NFL. So with that being said, I think they're going to have to come in this game with a chip on the shoulder saying, hey, we got a rookie quarterback. We're going to have to score. Like, we're going to have to score. Forget the offense scoring. So I just think Cleveland should just Kenny Pickett, man, I can't. Against a great defense, cannot put my money on Kenny Pickett to overcome and beat a team like Cleveland.
Totally get that. That 9-6 prediction, that might be over the total points. Like it's going to be a struggle bus on both offenses. Cleveland's offensive line did look very good last week against what I think we have a good defensive line. So if they get the ground game going like that against Pittsburgh, very much like their chances, no matter who's quarterbacking. So we're a little split there. Moving on to the NFC side of things, we got the Detroit Lions at home in the NFC North matchup with the Chicago Bears. Don't have a whole lot to say about this one. Detroit's been looking very good. A shootout win last week. I expect more of the same. A lot of points from Jared Goff and company and a big win.
Justin Fields is coming back to play in this football game. Does not really change my mind, although I do think that gives him a better chance to win games week in, week out. Having him back. I'm going to go with Detroit. I expect a big day from David Montgomery against his former team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Lions. I seen what they did last week to my team, so I just think, honestly, Jared Goff don't even have to pass the ball this whole game and just let it be the Gibbs and Montgomery show, and I think that'd be how they can win easily against a kind of Chicago team that we said we won't talk about much, but glad to hear Justin Fields is coming back, but just too much Lions, definitely, against Chicago. I just easily see them winning this and just putting a stamp on, hey, we're the new champs of this division. Y'all better start getting used to it.
Like that. I'm here for it. The Fighting Dan Campbell's just looking like the clear-cut best team in the NFC North. Moving on, guys, we got another NFC North team hosting. It'll be the 3-6 Green Bay Packers hosting Christian's LA Chargers sitting at 4-5. Obviously, the Chargers need a win against the team you're supposed to beat to get back in this AFC playoff picture, so I expect a good performance to follow. Justin Herbert keeps playing more than fine football. It's just need a few stops, maybe a turnover here against Jordan Love, who's been prone to a couple, although he played a little better last week. That said, I think they'll get one or two off Mr. Jordan Love and win this football game. Go ahead, Brian. I know it.
I know it too.
Oh man, so I did talk about Jordan Love last week, and he did have a good game. I don't know if you guys went back and saw any of the throws he made or anything like that, but man, I really did go back and forth because I think the Chargers have a really good offense, but I have zero faith in defense. I just have zero faith. And there have been games this year where Herbert's had 150 yards, 200 yards, and it didn't bite them in the butt. I think this one can. And I think Jordan Love is shown that he can make something happen. Not a whole lot. I'm not saying that. Last week kind of shown, I think, in my opinion, that the receivers are not where they need to be for a young quarterback to have a lot of success. And the throws he was making were under duress. They were down the field. They were difficult throws. I mean, they just were. They were special throws. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. I think Green Bay could win this game. I am going to pick them. I'm not super confident in that. Also, the run game's been spotty at times, and power back A.J. Dillon might could get something going up the middle here.
All right, man. I'm going to keep it short, simple, man. I've seen Green Bay all year. A lot of games have been very close, but I just don't see, like Brian said, the running game's my big thing on why I'm not going to pick Green Bay. If they actually had a good running game, I'd say the game could be close, but it hadn't been a thing. Jones, since the injury, hasn't been himself since he returned, so I just can't get behind A.J. Dillon because, I mean, he's kind of hit or miss, like Brian said. I mean, really, 1 week he'll play great, 1 week he won't, and I mean, Christian Watson's on that side. That's their number one. Ain't getting the ball. And we've seen what Keenan Allen's been week in and week out now. And then Austin Eckler, kind of, I mean, I can go ahead and say he's back 100%. I mean, he had that one shaky game when he returned. So I think if it is a defensive problem I think maybe you could argue maybe both sides. I think we have way more firepower than they do, and the offense actually can score very quickly, and that's just not been what Green Bay has been all year. So I think it's an easy win for a Chargers. I don't think that's a thing that building even knows how to do at this point, but I think this would be a comfortable win for the Chargers if we actually can play reasonable defense.
Yeah. See the sound reasoning there, Christian. I'm with you. If you want your chance at retribution, since Brian's picking against your Chargers, you can pull the upset flag with the Vegas Raiders here, traveling to Miami, who are sitting at 6-3, coming off a bye week. Vegas 5-5. Just 4% of people picking Vegas in this one for a good reason. Miami's a really good team. Vegas is kind of squeaking by, but 2-0 under interim head coach Antonio Pierce now. Do they make it 3-0? My vote's no. I just, as much as Josh Jacobs can turn a game and control a game when he's going, just think too much of Miami's offense to pick against them, especially coming off a bye week. So give me Miami.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Miami as well. I think we'll start off the new era for Tua Tagovailoa. Cornrow, do-rag, shooting sleeve Tua. Man, pulled up practice with all the gear on. But yeah, I think he'll start off his new look 1-0 against the Raiders, so I don't have a lot of faith in.
Man. All I'm going to say is I hope they ain't too tight. It might cause them to have a concussion. But, anyways, I will say the only thing that does scare me in this game for maybe on the Miami side is if they do start getting Josh Jacobs the ball a lot, to kind of see I mean, we've seen the Dolphins struggle against the run, but we've also seen games where they can completely shut it down. So I'd be interested to see what Josh Jacobs can do on the ground and how much Devontae Adams is involved. The head coach has made that very clear. I mean, that's been what he's been preaching since he took over the job, is to get his playmakers involved. I mean, hats off to him. He's doing it. Most of the time coaches say it, we don't see a change. But I'm going to go with Miami just because kind of what I said with the Chargers. I think if it is, a game that's going to be close, I just believe one in that offense more than I do the Raiders. Young quarterback. They have a lot of veterans on that defense that Brian's talked a lot about on this pod. So there's a guy or a team that I can say can really make a rookie quarterback look bad. I think it would be this Miami defense be up there for me to make a rookie kind of look bad. But I just think, just too many weapons on that Miami side, kind of like what I said with the Chargers game. So I think the Raiders are in the right direction, just in a whole different world than what Miami's in right now.
Yeah. all three of us on Miami. No surprise there. Next up, we got an NFC East matchup, guys. It's Washington Commanders sitting at 4-6, hosting the 2-8 New York Football Giants. Both teams haven't looked uberly impressive this year, but Sam Howell's put together some pretty good football, especially in the recent weeks. I think he'll continue that. Big day from John Dotson. I think he gets involved a little more. The ground game help him out a little bit, and Washington will pull this one out.
Yeah, I went with Washington as well. DeVito starting for the Giants. I can't do it. Washington.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sam Howell, the leading passer in the NFL. Crazy, did not popped up on the phone, seen it. I said, man, but the stats are what they are. So I just think with what we've seen out of Brian Robinson last week and him getting involved in the passing game, not just the running game, and then just a New York team with a third string quarterback, I just don't see it ending good for this team. I can see Washington really open up this playbook and see what they can really do with this team.
Yep. Next up, we have the 6-3 Dallas Cowboys traveling to Bank of America Stadium to take on the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young obviously having difficulty each and every week with who he's working with. They're coming off that Thursday night game, so they have a few more days to prepare. I don't think that matters. The talent discretion is a little too wide for me to pick against Dallas in this one, so give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say here. I don't know. Michael Parsons might have as many sacks as Carolina has points. What do you think?
Oh man, that is aggressive, but
It is
he'll rack up some for sure. On that one,
yeah. I'm gonna go Dallas.
Yeah, my only takeaways is Adam Thielen. I expect him to have a big game. Definitely with how this one's probably going to turn out. And then for Dallas, Tony Pollard, this is your week, brother. You can get one touchdown. This is your week.
I need it, man.
So I'm gonna pick Dallas. I just think it's gonna look like it did last week. What we seen out of this team, just a good team, but I just think this offense is gonna really make this defense not look that great.
Yeah. Could have used the Tony Pollard touchdown when Christian was beating up on me in fantasy last week, but that's neither here or there. Hopefully, get some ends on this week for me. Next up, guys, we've got an AFC South matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming off of that brutal beatdown at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. They'll be hosting the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville is a good team, man. The last week was a 1 week thing. I think San Fran had lost 3 in a row, had a bye week, and they came in pissed off. And sometimes you just play the wrong opponent at the wrong time. That was really the case for me. Jacksonville bounced back, and I think Trevor has a really big day against the secondary, throws a few touchdowns.
Yeah, I believe in Jacksonville as well. I'm going to pick them here. Tennessee is a team I don't have a whole lot of faith in either. I think the longer in the season it gets, the less faith I have. But Mike Vrabel's a good coach. These teams do know each other pretty well. I can see this being an upset. I really can. Although I just believe that Jacksonville's defense is the real deal, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on the Titans' offense and force them to have to pass the ball, and we know how that goes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I think this would be probably I could see maybe turn into a running back show for both teams, but I just see Travis Etienne after what we seen last week. That was really no Travis Etienne. I expect him to have a huge day against this Tennessee team that have been giving some running backs some room to really do whatever they want against them. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville, big bounce back. I expect them to really open this playbook up for real, get a bunch more playmakers involved, because I just think, Doug Peterson's not liking what he definitely seen last week against one of the best defenses probably, and his offense been talked up and hyped up to be a pretty good offense, and they did what they did last week. I expect them to have a showing on offense.
With you there, guys. All three of us on the Jags in this one. The other AFC team, South team will be hosting the Arizona Cardinals, who sit at 2-8. Houston Texans, guys, 5-4, coming off back-to-back weeks with putting out there just thrilling games to watch. CJ Stroud, we've talked about him at length on this podcast, and with good reason, because he just keeps turning out good performances. I don't think that changes against this lowly Arizona team. For me, it's just seeing which receiver he gets involved today. So I think Houston wins pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I went with Houston as well. C.J. Stroud's been playing excellent football, and I think the running game was a really nice thing that added to their arsenal last week against Cincinnati. And if they can continue, which I expect them to in this football game, I think it can get ugly pretty quick. and cause the Cardinals to have to be in must-pass situations. And I think that's where the Houston Texans can really start to tee off on you. So I'm going to go with Houston.
I will say I'm going to say I went back and forth, but I'd like to see what this Arizona team can do this week with, James Conner coming back for his second week in a row now, Kyler Murray back for his second week. Kind of see what this team really is, make or break now at this point moving forward, what we actually see out of Arizona moving forward. But I just think Houston, I think what we've seen out of CJ Stroud's, been insane for a rookie to come in and do. And then plus, like Chase said, they have a lot of weapons. A lot of weapons. I will say Tank Dell has been, I think, maybe a sneaky number one guy for him, but I think just Houston's way more better. Their defense for Arizona has been bend but don't break, and I just see Houston maybe breaking this defense off this week.
Yeah, it's not even the Arizona offense for me. I think with Kyler Murray back, they can do some things, but that defense is troublesome. And CJ Stroud's the hottest quarterback in the league, so that matchup just that you see why we all are on Houston here. Next up, guys, we get in the 4 o'clock window. The team, honestly, with the best performance last week is the San Francisco 49ers. They will be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just shout out to that new look. New look. They added Chase Young, but the defense looked back to form last week, and holding Jacksonville to 3 points is more in line with what we think of in that defensive unit. I think that continues. Baker is playing good football, but I don't think it's enough to overcome this defense, and San Fran is still plenty good enough on the other side of the ball to make this game a pretty easy win. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I think they win comfortably.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers as well. I just believe in their unit as a whole on both sides of the ball. A little too much to pick Tampa here. Baker has shown life, but this is tough defense, I still think, to pass the ball, especially over the middle. So I'm going to pick the 49ers here to cover.
I kind of went back and watched the 49ers, watched a couple other games which they struggled in, and it's been against guys that have real top wide receivers, and I will say Mike Evans has been that this year. And the Tampa Bay defense, I will say they have not shown great games, but they've also shown amazing games. So I think this defense is really better than what people give them credit for. And I just, at the end of the day, I did go back and forth, but I maybe will say this pick is maybe for me hoping I can catch up in the race and maybe take the first spot. But I did pick Tampa Bay. But I just see Baker Mayfield's been playing amazing this year. I know y'all have all kind of some agreed. Brian definitely has not been on that train yet, and I don't think he ever will be just with what Baker is. But I went with Tampa Bay. I think, Mike Evans are getting the running game involved now. I think this is their chance to really show me if I should be believing as much as I am or not. This is a big team, one of the best teams maybe you can argue in the NFL. So if they can hang with this team, at least to me, it maybe can see why I've been believing as much as I have this year after they show me a couple bright spots. But at the end of the day, I just think Mike Evans is going to have a great game to we seen when they did play Cincinnati. Jamar Chase had a great game. They played the Vikings. To when they played guys that actually have good wide receivers on teams, they've struggled. So that's why I'm going Tampa. Don't make me regret it, Tampa, please.
All right, guys. Two teams here on this next one, guys, that are the losers of those Week 10 primetime games, both desperately needing a win. The AFC East matchup between the Jets traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Right now, firing of the OC, new voice in Josh Allen's ears. I think while it may not be the long-term solution, I think it pays dividends this week. They're a little more energized and come out a little more focused on the offensive side and just take a lead and make the Jets play catch up, which I don't believe in them doing behind Zach Wilson. So I got the Bills in this one.
Yeah, I think this could be a competitive game with the Jets defense being as good as it is and them having to bring in a new OC, which, kind of could go either way. They could be revitalized or they could be a little lost. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm going to pick Buffalo, though. I just think if there's going to be a team that can score 20 points, I'm definitely going to edge at Buffalo.
I think with the new offense coordinator coming in, that's going to hurt Josh Allen more than help him. So I actually went with the Jets. I think what we've seen out of Zach Wilson has been not great, but it's not been bad either. I think we've seen Garrett Wilson get more involved each week. I think that's a plus. You're seeing Breece Hall show signs when actually the running game is an option and they're not selling out for it, that he's a bright spot on this team. So I just think this defense is way too good for a Buffalo offense. It's been hit or miss, and Josh Allen's been having to throw hero ball, play hero ball, and if any defense is going to eat up hero ball, it's the New York Jets. So I think they're hearing the noise, that the season's not going that well. When is Aaron coming? So I think, they did have, I'm pretty sure, an all-team meeting, just players only. So I think they're going to come in, and they've already won one of these. So I think if anybody's having momentum going in, it's going to be on the Jets saying, hey, we ever done this once. Now they lost their OC too. So I'm going with the Jets. I just think, we've seen a Denver team run the ball on them. So I have very good confidence in a Jets team being able to run the ball on them.
Feel you. That'll be an important one to watch, guys. We got 3 more we want to quickly get to here. The first, an NFC West matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams. Obviously, LA's a bit reeling now without Matt Stafford. I don't see any hope of that changing. Give me Seattle, who just keep turning out good performance outside the Baltimore game and really the LA game week 1. I think they extract a little bit of a revenge here and just play sound football in LA and dominate on both sides of the ball, and especially in the trenches, and let Kenneth Walker do work. So that's enough to put Seattle ahead and win this game for me.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say here. I'm going to go with Seattle. I think they just have a better all-around team, and the Rams have a limited roster, I would say.
I'm going to keep it short, sweet. 1, no Matthew Stafford. 2, maybe a Carson Wentz sighting. We might see it in this game. I'm going Seattle, just better team. Run game's been going good. DK Metcalf's been making big plays, so Seattle.
Yep. All right, the Sunday night game, guys. A team coming off a big upset win in that Monday night game is the Denver Broncos. They'll be hosting the Josh Dobbs-led 6-4 Minnesota Vikings. I truly didn't pick an upset this week, and I was trying to find one, and I kind of just landed on this because as well as Minnesota is playing behind Josh Dobbs, I just like what Denver has done defensively the last few weeks. Russell Wilson, as Brian touched on earlier, played a pretty dang good game Monday night, and I think that continues as long as they don't turn the football over. Javonte has a established day and gets touches on the ground. I think it'll be enough for Denver to get the home primetime win.
Yeah, I agree. I went with Denver here as well. I think that they just have a little bit of a run game going on. I think that can continue in this game, and Russell Wilson has shown life. And I believe a little bit.
You know what? I changed my mind. I'm picking Minnesota. I'm sorry.
That's my God.
I looked at Christian and then I thought about Josh Dobbs TikTok, and I was like, you know what? I forgot. I love Josh Dobbs. I'm pulling for Minnesota.
Man.
And he's gonna play good. I don't care about Denver's defense. Russell Wilson, he will go back to old Russell Wilson. And yeah, I got you, Christian. Give me Minnesota.
I'm gonna say Minnesota, and I'm not gonna go on the whole Josh Dobbs. You just turn on some old pods, you'll hear my I'm gonna really go. This defense gotten better and better each week. They're getting pressure, and we've seen, against Buffalo, a team that hasn't really been getting to the quarterback like that much. Russell Wilson was dancing out there. And now you got a DC that's, Brian can preach on it. He's sending the heat. This guy's going to go after Russell Wilson, see if, hey, you want to go back to your old ways? We coming for you. So I think more so than anything, I'd like to see this Minnesota defense, show up for this game. And then Josh Dobbs. Come on, Brian. Josh Dobbs. I think, we've seen him get TJ Hawkinson involved an insane amount. And then you have Jordan Addison. So I just think with what they're doing, Ty Chandler is getting the ball more in the running back room. He's showing life for that area too. And then I just see Josh Dobbs being able to run around and make plays. So we're going Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs, keep winning, man. Maybe. When you get that big contract this year, we might have a jersey on the way.
I'm with it, brother. I'm with it. I love that, man. All right, guys. The final Week 11 game is the matchup of the week. They're saving it for primetime Monday Night Football. It is the Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 8-1, traveling to Arrowhead in a Super Bowl rematch to take on the 7-2 Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the two best teams last year face each other in the Super Bowl. Looking like the best team in the NFC, the best team in the AFC so far. That's the case record-wise. So I did not predict the same outcome. I've got Philadelphia taking the road win. I think Kansas City has played fine. Their offense is still just so hit or miss right now, and I can't bank on a receiver stepping up, and that's what I need. Because when Travis Kelce has a rough week, Chiefs really, really struggle because they don't have that extra body in the outside to take the pressure off of them. So I think it'll be a great game, a well-deserved Super Bowl rematch in a spotlight national TV setting. But give me the Eagles to pull out a late win and maybe one of those defensive linemen to just make a play late and get a nice sack and seal the game.
I went with the Eagles as well. I just think man, this one was a hard one to pick. It could go either way. I think both teams have a good defense. I think both teams have a good offense, but I just went with Philly just because I think that they can get a run game going and just be more well-rounded on offense, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, not allow him to find a rhythm, and take Kelsey away and force Mahomes to go elsewhere. I think that's a game plan for success that they can execute, and I'm going to go with Philly.
Yeah, I went with the Eagles mainly because whatever they were calling him last year, the god of the field. It ain't gonna be slippery out there this time. So I think this Eagles team's gonna remember, hey, we missed a couple last time, we coming this time. So I just think that, and I think they made the trade for the Tennessee safety, drawing a blank, Kevin. They made the trade for
Fired.
him. So I think that's going to be a nice piece to add to maybe shut down Travis Kelsey. So I think they have the people you can maybe say to maybe pull it off. And then if they're able to take away the wide receivers, are not that big of a threat with both their corners and Bradbury and Slay. So I just think moving forward, this Eagles team could take this as a big win. And I mean, AJ Brown's been going stupid week in and week out, and I just see this defense. I mean, I've praised and said they've been good, but I don't think they're good enough to stop AJ Brown and then Devontae Smith. And I mean, we can go on and on. This offense is just a long list of names. So I got the Eagles. I just see them. I ain't gonna say being very just whooping them out the gate, but KC offense has looked bad the last two showings they've had out there. So it has the potential to not look so good for KC.
Okay, well, I like it. All of us on the Philly train. That'll be the matchup of NFL Week 11, guys. Moving on, we've got some takes to get to. We're already sitting at the 37-minute mark, and honestly, I didn't have a great Ravens one prepped up, so I'll let you guys. I'll skip over mine. If any of y'all have a team take, I'll let you go ahead, and then we'll just get straight to our NFL one. So, Christian, a Chargers take, or Brian, a Dolphins take. Go right ahead, and we'll discuss.
Mine is real quick. I knew we talked about it a little bit last week, but I just want to get on record one more time. Miami finishes over or under 11.5 wins.
They are at 6 now. God, the schedule.
Pull up this week's schedule. Yeah.
Let me pull up the schedule. Let's see. Dub. You said 11.5?
Yep.
All right, 6 now.
So they gotta win 6 more to get to 12. I think they do it. I think they finish right at 12. I think they do it. Yep. And honestly, if I'm leaning, if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say 75% of me leans over at the 12-win mark. So, really good team. Teams you should beat coming up. That last 3-week stretch that Christian has touched on and we have touched on will be the telltale sign of what the defense looks like against more formidable competition and playoff hopeful teams and the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills. That'll be the telltale sign. But I think the Dolphins are plenty good enough to win all of those games, especially how they match up against each team. So I think they'll take care of business and get over that 11 win mark, get to 12.
Yep.
Christian.
We might even play another. My bad.
What you got, Brian? No, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
We might even play another losing record in Week 18.
Is that where your NFL take is going? Oh, goodness.
No.
Okay, let me straighten Brian out real quick. So, I see the first 4 games. I think, that first one against the Jets, I think y'all are going to get them. But that's when I go to December the 17th and I look at the schedule and go, if Aaron, middle December is what he's aiming for, December the 17th look like the middle to me. So if Aaron's back then, I mean, I like the Jets' chances even more, but I see the Jets at least pick up one of these with or without Aaron. Then Dallas, I mean, that's my biggest question mark. I can see that game go both ways. It just depends on what Dallas you get. Baltimore, I mean, it depends on what defense you get out of them. If it's like what we've seen against Cleveland, I mean, I think y'all can easily win that one. But, I mean, honestly, I could just see these last 4. I ain't gonna say you drop all 4, but there can be some bumps in that. But I'm gonna say you're not gonna win 11 just because
Not
somewhere there's
11.
going to be a game that we've seen that we're going to say y'all should have won this one. And I'm saying the next 4 weeks are all easy, but in reality, one of those 4 could be one of them that y'all drop. And we're going to look back and say,
Yeah.
how the heck did they drop this game? But at this point, I mean, my team's done it. I mean, at least twice to me already this year. I think
Yeah.
Chase team did it to him. I ain't gonna say last week, but with the
The
lead they had,
The
I think he
Colts
was
for
the
sure.
Colts won in overtime. So our teams have all dropped that one that we go, oh, we're winning all these games, we're good till this point. So I can just see Miami dropping 1 or 2. It's gonna hurt them, and then they're gonna go play these, I'll say 3 last games, and that'll make him put maybe a 10-win season in the books.
So you think we'll finish 500 the rest of the way with that schedule?
I mean, I can see 4-4. Yes, I can see y'all win 4, lose 4.
Okay.
Interesting. Christian, you have a Chargers take for the week?
Man, I just want to see my team play Green Bay, man. That's my take, man. I'm just ready to see what we can do as a defense against Jordan Love, man. That is my take, man. I just want to see how everybody else is making them not look good. Can we do it?
I don't blame you, Christian. I'm very hopeful that you guys, you got some good pass rushers. Get after them, get after the quarterback, make some things happen. Hopefully that's the case for your Chargers this week. That said, we'll get into our NFL takes. I have mine lined up. I know Brian's going in the Bills direction. I'll start us off here, guys. My take is a question. See if y'all agree with me. Obviously, me and Brian, Ravens, and Dolphins fan, respectively. I think our teams finish first and second in the rushing yards total by season's end. That's my quote unquote prediction. Just reel off you guys the top team rushing stats right now. The Ravens lead the league with 1,549 yards. The Bears are second with 1,350. Browns third, 1,331. Tied with the Dolphins for that third place. A few other teams to watch out here for. The Falcons, 1,304. The Lions, 1,251. And the Niners, just over 1,200 yards. I think all those teams can make a push for the top spots in rushing yard totals. But my reasoning is I think the Ravens just have weaponry. Keaton Mitchell has that big home run ability. Gus Edwards moves the chains a lot. And you got Lamar just making things happen in the scramble. So that usually bodes well for us. Obviously, the Dolphins are the team ranked third right now. I think they, by season end, finished second because, one, you take into account these games that they, quote unquote, should be leading a lot of these games, right? The schedule coming up. I think they established a much improved ground game that we've already seen part of this year, and they'll lean on that when they have leads in these football games. And late in the year, they'll try to establish it early on and let Tua open things up in the middle of the field and to push the ball to Tyreek against the better defenses he'll play in late in the season. So that's my reasoning for having Ravens Dolphins finish 1-2 in rushing. Either you guys have disagreement or a team that you think upsets that and throws a wrench in that finish?
I agree with you for the most part. I definitely think having Devon Hn come back will help us a lot, especially with our easier schedule throughout the next 5 weeks or so. So I think that will help us a good bit. But if there's a team that I think can gain some ground, I do think San Francisco could. I don't know where they are in the standings. I'd imagine they're pretty far up there. But I think Christian McCaffrey can have some huge games if he continues to stay healthy. And Cleveland I think they can still stay right there, especially without Deshaun Watson for the rest of the year. They might lean a little bit heavier in that direction. But yeah, I agree. I think if I had to pick the 2 teams that would be leading at the end of the year, I would pick Baltimore and Miami.
I went in a different route just because I kind of glanced at the Ravens schedule, and I mean, it's tough. So I think moving forward, they might have to go to the pass more. So with that being said, with Cleveland, the injuries to quarterbacks, I just think they're going to be more run heavy. I mean, they already shown without Deshaun, that's who they are. So I think they could easily finish first or second. Then Miami, I just think the next 4 weeks can easily let them rack up. But I think the Lions is another team that can easily, out of nowhere, shoot up on this. Definitely with the duo coming back together. And we've shown now Gibbs what he actually is in the NFL. So now they know they have 2 great running backs. So I think that could be a team that easily start blowing the doors off of some of these teams and then just let it be the running show. But, I mean, that's where I'm leaning. I think Baltimore could be in that talk, but I just see the upcoming schedule. I think they can easily finish maybe top 3, maybe in that 4th spot. But if I had to do like a ranking right now, I'd say probably Cleveland number 1, just because no quarterback leads to you have to run the ball. 2, I'd probably say Miami. And then, I mean, Detroit, I think, can easily start sneaking up there and then be like Baltimore or Detroit in that 3rd to 4th spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like the Detroit take there, Christian, because they've got probably the best running back duo tandem in the league to me with Gibbs' emergence these last few weeks. He is that home run hitter that they hoped for when they drafted. So hopefully he just continues to get the ball, and Detroit keeps turning out good performances. They are a really good offense, fun to watch. Brian, I will let you do your Bills spill here. Obviously, a lot to get to with the OC firing and a team that has a lot of talent, but they are sitting at 5-5 on the outside looking in the playoff picture. What you got for us?
I think, given the status of the team and where they are, and if you look at just what they've done the last several years, they have been a very good roster. They've had a very good roster, and their Super Bowl window has been open. Many have projected them to go to the Super Bowl, win it. They have continued to fall short, and their defense has been pretty solid throughout this whole time. And Josh Allen has been great. But if you look at this and you break it down, why is this team losing? It's two things. Josh Allen turning the football over. It's been consistent, league leader in interceptions 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, and this year as well. That's ridiculous. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball. They lost their DC. They have had suffered critical injuries to several different of their star players, and really what's piecing them together, Sean McDermott is trying his best to hold the defense together and maybe not spending as much time on the offense. And now they fired Ken Dorsey. I just see it not getting better from this point on this season. I don't think Ken Dorsey was the issue. I think more of the issue is Sean McDermott. And if the Bills are to rectify their situation and get the most out of the talent they do have on the roster, which they still have plenty of, I think they need to fire McDermott. Crazy, I think, maybe. Hot take, maybe. But I think they need an offensive-minded head coach to come in here and really get the most out of this offense, because I think they leave meat on the bone every week. Every week they leave meat on the bone. And I don't necessarily think it was Ken Dorsey's fault. I think they need to provide the correct infrastructure around the team, change the way they're playing offense, and that will also extend Josh Allen's career. I think the way he's having to play football right now, I just don't know how long it lasts. People say, oh, running quarterbacks don't make it in the NFL. Well, Josh Allen, I wouldn't say he's a running quarterback, but dang, he takes some hits and he runs a lot. And we've seen what that does to guys over the long haul. I think he could win as just a pocket passer. But what does his game look like when he no longer has that ability to take off and outrun guys and beat them to the perimeter and run guys over? Is he still an elite quarterback? When you take that away, he still continues to throw interceptions. I don't know. So I think in the Bills' best interest, getting an offensive-minded head coach in here can change the way their team operates. Make it more efficient. Give Allen more of a security blanket or whatever you want to call a running game to take some of the pressure off of him. And then you're kind of up against the cap. To make it work, you're going to have to really pick a side of the ball you want to invest in. And I think it's got to be the offense with Josh Allen.
Okay. Interesting, Brian. I think to me, the last couple of years, the Bills' offense, while it's still plenty talented, has just felt a bit stale. They very much lean on Josh Allen's to Stephon Diggs hitch routes to move the chains, in routes to move the chains across the middle of the field. They used to, when they were really explosive, they were good for one deep ball a game. Most of the time, two digs, sometimes to Gabe Davis. And those explosive plays have been few and far between here recently. I think they're looking for a spark. I think they have the players to accomplish that. As Brian's saying, to me, it boils down to head coaching. I think just the way the AFC is shaping up this year, that lost Monday night hurt, guys. It hurt big time. 5-5 now. I'll have to look at their schedule, but I'm ready to say the Bills will be on the outside looking in come season's end, and that'll be enough to spark change in the head coaching department. No fault to Sean McDermott. He's done a great job. That was just a poor franchise before they drafted Josh Allen. They brought him in. That said, sometimes just things run their course, and a fresh voice and direction for Josh Allen to a little bit more stability and have a game plan each week of like, okay, we need running backs to get this many touches, not Josh, you get up there and just dictate things and just let the offense be, scramble backyard football 24/7. It's okay to work in structure. Like, you can be very successful working in structure, and then when the opportunity presents itself and things break down, that's when you depend on that gameplay backyard football. Just throw it up to playmakers like Stephon Diggs and company. Lean on that then, but they've just been too dependent on that to me. They refusal to work with structure and stay on schedule and just and complement each phase of the offense with ground game and pass game. That's been missing, and ultimately, I think it cost them a playoff spot this year with the turnovers and the upset loss they had Monday night. And that'll be enough to fire Sean McDermott and move this franchise in a different direction for the better.
Yeah. So real quick, the rest of their schedule: the Jets, which we already touched on. Then they play the Eagles and Chiefs back-to-back weeks, followed by the Cowboys, then the Chargers, Patriots, and then they close the year against Miami and Miami.
Yeah, that's, to me,
That's
we're talking
dreadful.
about Houston's emergence as a wild card contender, and then you got every AFC North team that just looks to be fighting for that wild card spot as well. Chargers can make a run at this thing. Colts and Vegas aren't the most sexy teams, but they're 5-5, the same record as the Bills, and they'll probably have easier schedules. Just a tough gauntlet to run. If they do it, it may be to their detriment, because making the playoffs could be enough to keep the head coach in house, and I don't think that's really for the best. As Brian said, they're probably due for a new direction, so they probably need to miss the playoffs. To me, Christian, you agree, or you have a different direction?
I disagree with the head coach call. I don't think he's going to lose his job after this year, just because how many times they have almost been to the promised land. We've seen coaches do way worse than this and kept their job at the end of it all. But I think maybe a new OC. I don't think the DC is coming back after this year. I just really don't. I think they're going to have to hire a new DC, get a new offensive coordinator in there. Honestly, maybe get a new quarterback coach. This isn't what Brian Daboll. He went to New York and took that job. That was the quarterback coach that really got Josh Allen. Turned around to who he is now. You could really say. I just think kind of what Chase said. I think this team's one, the running game's missing. I think Cook was supposed to be their answer in the draft, wasn't. And then they've really never, I will say, Dalton Kincaid has been a reasonable number 2, but it's been kind of later than earlier. Until injury, he really wasn't on the field. So I think they just really missed a real number 2. I've talked about Gabe Davis saying he could be that, and just at this point, I'm gonna keep it real. He's not that. He's not gonna become that, I don't think, at least in this offense. So I think maybe this offseason they get a new OC in, get a new DC. I will say Edmonds, we talked about it in the offseason. Losing him at the middle linebacker spot didn't replace him. I think that was a big miss on this team to not really get somebody to be the play caller, the head guy that had the time behind this, or at least understood the defense to really be the play caller on the field. So I think that hurt this defense. Then you're talking about all these other guys coming in this year and just injuries, voices changing, the voices changing. So just this defense, I don't think never had a chance to really click, in reality. So I just think with that, and just like I said, with this offense, I just think I ain't going to say it was the OC's fault, but I just think, it easily could have been the OC saying, hey, you're Josh Allen. If you think it's there, let it rip. And I think, that could have been what was happening behind closed doors. We won't never know. But my thing is just new offense coordinator. I think all new defense, the head coach, don't touch it. Let that do its own path and just get a number 2 for this team to really be helpful for Diggs and maybe take some pressure off of him.
That relationship as well just feels a bit uneasy.
Yeah.
Diggs and Allen, like,
Didn't
you got
mention
his
that.
brother. Yeah, you got his brother tweeting out, what he said the other night after their loss. It's just, who knows what this franchise does, because they're both very talented players, but obviously just not meshing like they were early on in their relationship. So storyline to watch out for: the Bills have a gauntlet to run through and a 5-5 record. puts them behind the 8 ball to make a playoff spot in the AFC. Christian, do you have a NFL take this week? And if so, we'll get out of here on it.
Yeah, mine. We can kind of keep it short and sweet because it's a team that's not doing that great. They did have success last year, and I already hinted towards where I was going, and that is the New York Giants. I think, Brian Daboll is supposed to be this quarterback guy, did what he did with Josh Allen. They went, and I think it's not just him. I think the GM in New York, I think this is a franchise that just needs to go ahead, tear this all down. To them, they don't have anything in my eyes. They do on defense, but on the offensive side that Brian Daboll is supposed to be this mastermind of, it's just not there. I think Barkley's done after this year. He's not coming back. You're stuck with Daniel Jones another year. We've seen better play, I think, honestly, out of Tyrod Taylor. And as a GM, I don't know how you sit there and see what your quarterback's doing right now and go, there's got to be somebody out there that can at least give us a better chance to win a game. So I guess my take is honestly just, is the New York Giants moving forward? If this is where they stay, we all agree they're not going anywhere. So what is it going to take for, I guess, the New York Giants to really decide, like, hey, we're sorry, Brian Daboll, you got to go, new GM, to really, I guess, erase everything they have now? They done went through all this, and we're not even hearing rumors of Brian Daboll getting fired, but I feel like New York, big place. I think it's more so, I guess my takeaway would be is the Jets are more in the media in New York right now than the Giants are, and that's kind of crazy to think about, but that's really what it is for maybe the first time in years. So, I don't know if it's the media side that's not saying anything, but I just think ultimately at the end of this year, I guess my take is Brian Daboll should be fired and a new GM should also be brought in New York.
I do not agree. I don't. I think Brian Dable is a good coach. I think Daniel Jones is really the root of the problem, and then they also don't have any receivers at all. And Darren Waller never was high on. I think that was just a shot in the dark, honestly. And then Saquon Barkley's good, yeah, but the offensive line can't really get a whole lot of push, so there isn't much of a run game. And so you're stuck in a situation where you have a limited quarterback that is not. He's a good athlete. He's not good in the pocket, though. He takes sacks and he doesn't really sense pressure well, and he doesn't process things extremely fast either. So by the time he's getting back, defenders are in his face. He's not playing well. And I think that was part of the reason Tyrod did a little better, is he's a little bit more mobile and he's a little better at feeling the pressure and being able to maneuver and make something little happen down the field after he evades the pocket. But I just think that they're just so limited on offense that it just makes things really hard for Daniel Jones, quarterback like that. I do think they're kind of tied to him for a little while, I believe, as far as contract goes and getting out and having to pay guarantee money and things like that. But if it's bad enough, you got to do it anyway. So I don't know if they will go that direction, especially if they retain Brian Daboll. But I do think they do have some pieces on defense. Dexter Lawrence, obviously, really good one. Kevin Thibodeau, early draft pick. It's showing some life here and there. And then young cornerback Deontay Banks out of Maryland. I think all of those players are pretty good. And I think Xavier McKinney, the safety, is pretty good as well. So I think they got some pieces on defense, but overall, I don't think the roster is good at all. And I think that their direction should not have been trying to make the playoffs and signing a Darren Waller. It should have been more so, let's continue to see if we can build around Daniel Jones and make the most out of this contract we've given him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Brian here. I think Dayball very much overachieved. We all thought this team was due for regression, and the team overachieved last year. That's hit them hard in the face this year. I think that's a credit to him for what he got out of them last year. If you want to say maybe a new GM should be brought in, I'm a little more on board with that, because ultimately he just bought into that emotion of making a playoff berth with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and they were like, okay, well, we did it last year, we can do it again. Daniel Jones is who he is. He's not a franchise quarterback to me, and the GM signed his fate, handing him that contract. I think it's a terrible contract. We all said it at the time. So if you want to bring in someone else because of that decision, I'm with you there. I can't fault Daboll for that. He's just working with what he's got, and right now it's not a lot, especially on offense. It's just very, very rough. I don't care how established and QB guru, whisperer, whatever you want to call it, you are. When you got DeVito, the guy who's still living at home with his parents very proudly, sitting up on NFL Sundays and asking him to carry a offense, it's just a lot to ask, no matter who you're working with. So that not getting number one weapons, as Brian touched on. Needs to be a new look offense. I'm not going to fault Daboll for it, but Giants, bad team. Maybe they luck into Caleb Williams. I mean, if Daboll got his hands on that, I think that's the best bet at keeping his job further, because if they're going to be not drafting a QB and just hope that they can turn things around Daniel Jones, I think that's when everything boils to a head in a couple of years. Daboll bought himself this year with last year's performance. He'll get to next year. If it's still Daniel Jones and things are this rough, ultimately that can cost him his job, even though it may not be his fault. It wasn't him that gave the contract out, but that's what I got on it. Christian, good question though. Not a team we spend a whole lot of time on, given their record right now and the performance they turn in. They're really one of the toughest watches week in and week out. So I like the question to shine a little light on these lesser teams. Obviously, each of our teams have a big NFL Week 11 matchup. We'll be greatly tuning in to all three of our teams. Mine Thursday night, and we'll probably be texting throughout. Sure to be good Thursday night football game.
For sure.
And talk to you guys all on Sunday when we got each of our teams lining up, trying to get back in the win column, and a bunch of other good ones to get to in the Sunday recap of NFL Week 11. As well, always, guys, thank you all for listening. Continue to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. All our Twitter handles will be in the video on YouTube up. And as well as the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, all the clips we can get out for you guys will be churned out as quickly as we can. So thank you guys for listening. We will see you for the recap show on Sunday night. Thank you all. Peace out.
Peace.
On Joe Burrow.